Hello, thought I'd make a video. Wait a minute, I'm trying to get comfortable. This bed's so high. If I sit back, my feet dangle. Yeah, it's a bit difficult because I did ask a member of my family tonight, if I could mention them in a video or in videos, and they said no. And it seems like most people, I know, well, I don't know many people, but family members, well, apart from my daughter and my son, just don't want to be mentioned. It's like they don't exist. So it's a bit awkward. So and finding subjects to talk about when I can't mention certain people is difficult. So I'm a bit peed off about that, but I can understand it in a way. I don't think I would mind if people talked about me on a video, as long as they said nice things. I'd never say anything horrible about my family and friends on a video. I'll say horrible things about myself. Yeah, what was I going to talk about? I think I'll talk about the year that I was in a psychiatric hospital. You might think that's a long time to be in a psychiatric hospital. Well, in the 80s, it was quite normal to be there for up to 6 months or even longer, so it wasn't anything unusual. And this hospital was shut down. Well, the whole hospital complex was, it was just bulldozed basically because it was old buildings. And this must have been in about 2003 or 2004, something like that. And it's my local hospital. It was called Farnborough Hospital once, and now it's called the Princess Royal University Hospital, and it's a modern building. And in the hospital they got a unit, a psychiatric unit. It's not very big. I think it's about 3 stories. It's more or less a block. And there's only, I think, 3 wards, active wards at the moment, both male and female. And each ward takes in, I think, about 18 people, something like that, 20 people at the most. And you have to be really a danger to others to get in there. That's how difficult it is to get help now if you're not well. But in the 80s it was different. If you just wanted a change of scenery, a rest, a break where you didn't have to do anything, you didn't have to think about doing the housework, you didn't have to think about paying the bills, things like that, you could have a break from it and go into the hospital for a rest. And I think that was a really good idea. Obviously not everyone can do that. And it was good because I didn't have a job, so I didn't have to, I didn't have to pay anything. I mean, a lot of people go into the Priory. You hear about celebrities going into the Priory. Well, that is a mental institution, but they have to pay a lot of money. It's like £1,000 a night, something like that. But this was NHS. But I mean, say I was self-employed, I wouldn't have been able to go into the hospital. Or if I had a job, I wouldn't have been able to go in hospital for that length of time. I would have lost my job. So it was good that I wasn't working at the time. The reason I went, no, that wasn't the first time. The first time I was in there for 6 months. When my son was about 3 months, I started to get, really depressed. It was like, they called it postnatal depression, but it didn't happen straight away after the birth. It happened some months afterwards. And sometimes it can happen like that. It doesn't always start straight away. I mean, I did have the baby blues for like 2 weeks, and then I was back to normal, and I was looking after my son. But when he was about 3 months, I became very depressed because I think we were just struggling with money. We can't afford to eat really. I mean, my son was the priority for food, obviously, and I went without, so my partner at the time could eat, and my son could eat. And we basically, if we did eat anything, me and my partner, it would be something like a sugar sandwich. I'm sorry, I couldn't eat that type of food. And I never felt hungry either. I went to the doctors and I said to the doctor, oh no, this is another time. This happened again after my other child was born. I went off food. Did I go to the doctor and get gentian violet? Or was that the second time? I can't remember. I stopped eating, basically. I could eat like half a packet of crisps in a day, and that was all. And I drank a lot of coffee with milk in, so that probably kept me alive. And I went down from about 7 stone something. I didn't lose a great amount of weight. I was about 7 stone 4 to start with. And then I went down to like 6 stone 5, something like that. And I noticed when I sat on a hard chair, it hurt because it didn't have any fat on my backside. My partner was getting really worried about me because I wasn't eating, and he had to look after the baby, Jonathan. He was about 3 months old, or maybe a little bit older, I can't remember. And, I was crying all the time, just lying in bed, not doing anything really, not looking after myself. And my partner decided he took me to the doctor, and the doctor said take her straight away to Farnborough Hospital. And there was a unit in there, psychiatric unit. It was big, very big. And he took me there. They admitted me straight away. No problems with that. I think, I was put into a dormitory, which I rather liked. Well, it took me a bit of time getting used to being in a dormitory with a lot of other women. I wasn't in a state. I was in such a state. I wasn't really too aware of my surroundings to start with. My son was with me. That's right. But no, I'm getting it all wrong. We were put in the mother and baby unit. There was a mother and baby unit there for many years, and then they closed it for some silly reason, and that wasn't long before they converted it to the new building, the new hospital it is today. That's right. I was in the mother and baby unit, and I had a room just for me and my son. And it was a nice little room, and I think we stayed there for like 3 months. Something like that. Could have been a bit more. And after that, I was discharged with my son, because I was better. But that didn't last very long. I hadn't drunk for quite a long time, because I had a problem in my very early 20s, late teens. It didn't last that long, but I did have a short problem. Well, it's been reoccurring, but it's not all the time, if you know what I mean. Yeah, not long after yeah, we moved. We moved from the tower block. We lived on the 16th floor of the tower block. But I liked living there because I liked the people there. They were very friendly. And there was a laundrette at the bottom, a laundry for the tenants to use. And there's always someone to talk to. So we moved to a different area, not far away, into like a block of flats, a small block of flats, and we were put in a ground floor house, a flat I mean. But when we first went to look at it, they hadn't cleaned it up, had they? No, it was the council, I think. An old man had lived there and died in there. And I'm not joking, there was maggots in the bath. And when I saw that, I thought, oh no, I can't live here. I can't live here. And there was a really dirty stained carpet on the floor. It was doss house. And I thought, why show us the flat before you've done it up? I said, sorry, we shouldn't have shown it to you. Anyway, they did it up. But I didn't feel at home there. There was some sort of unhappiness that seeped from the walls. Yeah, I didn't like it at all. I didn't feel at home there. I didn't know anyone that lived there. I did get friendly with one girl, and we used to occasionally, I know this is bad, but I would leave my partner with my son and go to her flat and drink with her. And sometimes I go out with other people, go drinking with them, and I mix with all sorts of people, heroin addicts, etc. I even asked to try some heroin once. But they said, no, but you've been drinking, so you can't have heroin. It'd be dangerous. But just think, if I hadn't been drinking, I might have, who knows? I could have ended up hooked on heroin. I was taking a lot of tranquilizers as well at that time. Was it that time? No, it wasn't that time. Yes, it was that time. Yeah, a lot of Valium. I think I was on 10 milligram tablets. I can't remember, but very strong. And I was smoking a lot of weed as well. I wasn't drinking that much because I couldn't afford it. If I had a pound coin, I'd go and get a can of Special Brew. There's 9 units in there, and that's a lot. If you drink it quick enough, you get drunk, yeah. But what a foul taste it had, honestly. Anyway, things went downhill. I'd go shopping. I'd go to the park with my son. And he was still in the pram at that age, but was sitting up. And at the end of his pram, I'd have a bottle of gin or something at the bottom, hidden by the blankets. And I'd take him to the park, and every now and again I'd get the bottle out and swig from it. I know, very irresponsible. Yeah, and things came to a head, and I ended up, back in hospital. And that was a time I was in hospital for a whole year. Yeah, it wasn't... Some of it was good. We had some good times. There was a lot of other young women like me. Most of them were cutters, and I was a cutter as well. But not as bad as some of them, no. So I think most of them had my condition, borderline personality disorder. But I didn't know it then. I didn't know I had that condition then. I only found out about 10 years ago I had that. But it was diagnosed in 1989, which was the first time when I went in with my son. I was diagnosed then with postnatal depression and borderline personality disorder. Or they called it another name, emotionally unstable personality disorder. But I didn't know it then. I knew there was something wrong with me. I just thought it was depression and anxiety. I didn't know I had a personality disorder. But I got on with the other girls my age, because we probably all had that condition. And we used to lark about, we used to bring alcohol into the dormitories. Used to have sex with some of the men in the toilets, bathrooms, I mean. It was terrible. Awful. The staff weren't strict. Some of the staff were strict, but a lot of them were really soft. There was one person, I won't mention their gender or anything to give them away, but they weren't a patient. But they would invite some of us patients to go to the pub with them. I didn't think that was right. I mean, at the time I thought it was a good idea. But looking back, no, it wasn't a good idea. I just got institutionalised. I never wanted to leave. I wanted to stay there forever. I just couldn't cope with life. I couldn't cope with the reality of outside life. It was too difficult for me. I was naive. I was brought up by very strict parents. I think we had too many boundaries. And I don't think we were given enough freedom to explore things for ourselves. So, yeah, I don't think I was brought up properly. But it wasn't a deliberate thing on my parents. That's probably the way they were brought up. I don't know. I just think my mum was very strict. I think I've told her that as well. She knows that I thought she was a very strict mother. Completely different person now. Soft as butter. And my father, he was like one of these warriors. He said, oh no, don't do that. This could happen. Don't do that. I think that's one of the reasons I didn't learn how to swim. Because he mentioned drowning. So, he was very protective of us. He didn't want any harm to come to us. But they were good parents. I mean, they made, like, Christmas and birthdays were very special occasions for us. We always got lovely presents. Alright, they didn't cost a lot of money. But, as I said before, we appreciated what we got. And I think we were rather well-behaved children. Though we were naughty at times, like when they used to go out, and we were obviously older, we do stupid things like set fire to Lego. Why? I don't know. Anyway, I'm just going to pause this video. I'll be back in a minute. Yeah, everything went well in the hospital for the first few months. I stopped drinking. And I don't know what I was doing. I can't remember. I was just getting to know people and just relaxing and getting better. First 2 months, I think we were weighed daily, especially the underweight people. And I also had a little job, and that was to look after an anorexic girl who wasn't allowed to leave her bedroom or her bed. And she'd say to me, oh, look at you. And I put on a bit of weight then. I went up to about 7 stone, something like that. And she was only about 5 stone, if that. And she'd say, oh, look at you, you're so slim. I wish I could be like you. You've got a lovely figure. I'm fat. But she wasn't. She really thought she was fat. Oh, poor thing. I don't think she's alive now. I think she died. I'm not sure. Lots of things, funny and sad, happens in the hospital. A lot of people had the electric shock treatment, but I was too frightened to have it. I didn't like the idea of being put to sleep. I didn't mind having electric shocks. I didn't like the idea of being put to sleep in case I never woke up again. But I learnt recently that it's only a light anaesthetic. Doctors did want me to have it, but I refused, stupidly. But one girl, she was in a terrible depression. She couldn't even talk, she was that bad. But she had it done, she had a few sessions, and within a few weeks, she was like a different person, and she was ready to go home. Yeah, I did see a lot of people go from terrible depressions into being well again. And I think the head psychiatrist, was a very good man. He was very nice to me. I used to visit him in his office, and he'd get this big book down of medicines, and we'd look at it together. And I'd say, "Oh, Tabixol, Clapixol. Do you reckon that I could try that?" By that time, the depression had come back really bad. He said, "Yeah, we'll give it a go." Everyone called him Dr. Frankenstein because he was a bit easy with the meds. But he was a lovely man. Honestly, he was a lovely man. But he thought, yeah, we'll give it a go, and if you get a reaction, we'll stop it straight away. It's not like he didn't care for his patients, he did. He was a doctor at that hospital for a long time. Anyway, when it was either Clapixol or Tabixol, which were antipsychotic medications then. I don't think you can get them now. Well, I keep going on that. I said to the doctor, "Look," he said, "Yeah, we better take you off that now." No, I went through quite a lot of meds, but in the end they thought the benzos were the best for me because they calmed me right down. And antidepressants, I was on one. I think it was called anafranil. I think that helped. And I was on I wasn't on benzos straight away. That happened later on, I think. So I was on an antidepressant that wasn't really working. No, it wasn't anafranil, it was something else. I was on so many tricyclics, they kept changing them all the time. And nothing seemed to work. And then this girl that I knew, this young woman that I knew, came into the hospital, but I can't remember why. She was very happy and bubbly, so I had a feeling that she may have been bipolar and she was in a bit of a manic state. But she liked to drink. And I was sober then. And I said, "How do you fold it, She said, "I go shoplifting." And she showed me how to do it. So I became good at shoplifting bottles. I'd only get one bottle at a time. Sherry, something like that. I don't know, wine. But I don't know if you could gin, or was that locked away or something? I don't know. I think it was sherry I mainly stole. And I was sitting in the local park, right next to the hospital. I'd just drink it in one go, And then it became a habit. And sometimes I'd ask people for money as well. Like the spare £1 note. Was it £1 note then, or a coin? I can't remember. So I could get a can of special brew, because I think that was only £1. And 9 units. If you drink that quickly enough, you get drunk. So I didn't drink every day, but I drank when the occasion arose and I could get my hands on it. Yeah, I would. And one time, the doctors decided to take my day clothes away. And all I had was this silky nightdress. It didn't stop me going. It didn't stop me going to the shop and stealing a bottle of booze, did it? No. The things I did. And then I'd get someone, a friend, that said, here, they're giving me this jug. I've got to urinate in it. Would you do some urine in it? And they'd wee in the jug and they'd give it to me. And then I'd hand it over and say, look at that. And they wouldn't be able to find any alcohol in it. But I had all these plies. And none of it was working. And then I got frightened about shoplifting because I think my friend left the hospital. And I didn't like doing it on my own anymore. I was worried about getting caught. So I really had no access to alcohol. I only got a small allowance, and that mainly went on cigarettes. I know it's terrible, isn't it? I got £11 a week in the hospital. And I think cigarettes were like £3 a packet. So that wasn't many packets of cigarettes I could afford. Got bored without the drink. You know, I was nothing. I had no interest in life at all. Just lie in bed, try and sleep, try to read. Just tried to occupy my mind, but it was impossible. All I could think about was getting drunk. That's all I wanted to do. And what happened after that? Yeah, I asked the doctor, the head psychiatrist. I said, I read about people being put into a diabetic coma for a few days or weeks to stop their depression or something. He said, oh yes, I've heard about that. They said they thought of doing that in the 60s or something. Don't know if they ever did. He said, we'll think about it. But he was just humouring me. But I really did want to be put into a coma. I didn't want to live anymore. Life had no meaning. My partner left me while I was in the hospital. So that meant when I left the hospital, I'd have nowhere to live. My son was made a ward of court. And obviously I wasn't in a fit state even when I left the hospital eventually. I wouldn't have been in a well enough state to look after him, especially having nowhere to live. So I had to do it really quickly. I wasn't given enough time. And I had to pay money as well, money that I didn't have, to a solicitor. And they were pushing me. And I thought, well, there's only one thing that can happen, one possible thing. I can't have care and control of my son. It's impossible. I'm not well enough. I've got nowhere to live, got no money, nothing. No family around me, nothing. The father, and he was a good father to our son, I said it's obvious the father should get full care and control of our son because I don't want my son adopted. He was being fostered at the time, but a lot of pressure was being put on me. They didn't want my son to be fostered for too long, you see. So that's why they were putting a lot of pressure on me to make my mind up. And at that time, I thought that was the only sensible thing to do. And today, I still think it was the right thing. And my son doesn't blame me for it either. He knows I did the right thing at the time. I just wasn't well. And the thing about not knowing about this personality disorder and not getting therapy for it was a very big mistake. Because I had no therapy while I was in hospital. Nothing. Just pills. Yeah, and after that I've been in hospital for a year. And they put me in a flat, a temporary flat only. Not a flat, a house. Sorry. It was a one-bedroom house, a new build. It was mainly for immigrants, these 5 houses. But they let me stay in one, but I didn't have anything. I didn't have a tin opener, had no cutlery. I only had a mattress, and that was a really uncomfortable mattress to lie on because it had these things sticking out. And I was like buttons, but they had bits of fabric sticking out as well, like little leather straps. It was so uncomfortable to lie on. I had hardly any clothing. Couldn't afford toilet paper. And they just gave me like £20, £28 a week to live on. And I had to pay, obviously, other things out of that. The solicitor's money, etc. I think it was only there for a week. I said, look, I can't cope. So they took me to this homeless person's place up in London, and it was awful. It was like something out of Dickens' London. I'm not joking. It was awful. And then I went to a women's rehab, and I didn't last long there either. And then things just went from bad to worse. And eventually I ended up in a proper rehab, a detox. And that went on for about 12 weeks, something like that. It was a very famous place at the time. I don't know if it still exists. It probably doesn't. Very strict in there they were. And a doctor would come round and he'd feel your tummy and he'd draw where your liver was. And it was never in the right place. Always dropped. I had a epileptic fit coming off alcohol. But within a short space of time, with proper food and therapy, it was mainly AA meetings. We had AA meetings in the rehab, and we were bussed out to AA meetings in the local environment. Environment. And I found them really useful. I mean, I've been to AA meetings in the past. So, I got better. And then after that, I thought, what am I going to do now? I've still got nowhere to live. And I heard one bloke talking about this place. It's not there anymore, unfortunately. It's some private health clinic now. But in those days, this was about 1990, everything happened within like 1.5 years. It was ridiculous. So much happened in such a short space of time. That's why I find it difficult to put it in the chronological order. Yeah, he talked about this treatment centre. Is it called was it rehab? Yeah, rehab. And they did something they called Gestalt therapy. I don't know what that is, but I think it was good. And I liked it there. Made a lot of friends. I was there for a year. And then I left with this bloke. And he was a lot older than me, but I found him attractive. He liked to work out. He was lovely man. But I wasn't really in love with him. It was more like a father figure. But he never pressurised me in any way to do anything. But we lived together for a while in a rented flat in a house, and that was nice. We had friends around for dinner. Really, I should have stayed with him. I don't know what got into me, really. You know, he soon got a job. He helped me move into my flat when I finally got one, because a housing officer from the council said, "Did you know that you're eligible for council or social housing and social housing?" And I said, "No, I didn't know that. No one told me that when I was in hospital." And he said, "Yes, you are." So they gave me this most beautiful flat. The only thing is, there was nothing in it. It was empty, no carpets. There was curtains in the bedroom. All I had to take from the rented place was a round, them sofas that fit together. One of those that someone had given me. So I moved that into the bedroom and I slept on that until I got a mattress on the floor. But I was happy. But that bloody dust coming off that, what's that cheap flooring called? Particle board, I think they call it in America. I don't know what they call it over here. The dust all the time. I was sweeping up, sweeping up, sweeping up. Someone gave me a vacuum cleaner, but it didn't work. Someone found some disgustingly dirty net curtains, but I didn't even know how to hang net curtains up. So I just lived mainly in the bedroom because it had curtains. The bathroom was nice and big. I liked that flat, and actually I lived there, and I lived there for nearly 10 years before I moved here. But then things got better for me, and then they got worse, and I ended up in a mental hospital again. But this time it was only for a few months, about 2 months. 2 months. And after that, I met my partner, who I'm with now. And we've had more or less a normal life. But I've had my ups and downs with drink. But it hasn't been that bad. It's like now and again I would have a binge and maybe drink too much and pass out and sometimes do some silly things, which I won't go into. But I never hurt anyone, let me just say that. I may have hurt myself, but I never hurt anyone else. Yeah, I was just stupid when drunk. Do stupid things, like a lot of people, And there's times when I was able to drink, and still am able to drink a normal amount now and again. Like on holiday, or sometimes in the house in the evening. I might have a couple of glasses of wine, and that's all I want, that's all I need. I don't like drinking during the day, and I don't like getting drunk anymore. Don't like it. So, I think I've grown up now. I just think about others now more. I made an effort. I think COVID taught me that lesson, to think about others and how they're feeling, not just how you're feeling. Because I did become a narcissist during the COVID era. I was one of these dissenters. If I could have gone on the marches, I would have done. But I thought it was all a hoax. I thought it was all a hoax. And I was just nasty to people if they didn't agree with me. And I put things on Facebook. And I wrote some horrible things. Horrible things. And then I started to think, wait a minute, what's happening to you? You're turning into a psychopath. This isn't the normal you. Let people believe what they believe. You can't change other people, and you can't change their opinions. You've got to accept their opinion. And if they don't accept your opinion, well, it doesn't matter. You can always walk away. So I think I've grown up, started to really grow up in last year. Last year. Now I analyse my behaviour. Alright, I still swear at Morris. I still call him all the names under the sun. I still call him a moron. But he calls me things as well. But then we have a good laugh about it. So, we're doing okay now. Our children are happy. And life's good. And I love making YouTube videos. I just wish I got more views, more comments, more likes, and more subscribers. Yeah, I've shared a lot of painful memories tonight. I didn't share the worst ones though. And I'm not going to. But that's my backstory, really. And that's probably why I find it difficult to make YouTube videos. Because a lot of my life has been horrible. I'd say the last 29 years been good. It's alright, there's been ups and downs, yeah. And I did end up in the mental hospital, no, psychiatric unit. I did end up there quite a few years ago for only 8 days. But that was the only time in God knows how many years I've been an inpatient in a psychiatric hospital. So things have improved. And the only time I drank, the reason I drank like that when I was younger is really I had a death wish. I really didn't want to live. I was suicidal, but I was too cowardly to do it. So I thought I'd do it slowly, like drinking myself to death. That's how I thought, anyway. I still do get depression. About eight years ago, I got it for a whole year. It was awful. Awful. It's awful. It's an awful illness. People say, oh no, it's not a real illness. It is. I'll tell you this now, it's a real illness. And it doesn't mean you're crying either. It's just like a statue. You just drift around the house, not knowing what you're doing. Your brain's empty, you feel dead. Everything around you is not real. Well, you're not real. I couldn't leave the house. I'd open the door, take a few steps, and think, I can't do this, go back home. But now I just, I take it a day at a time. And that's what I do. I live a day at a time. That's why I don't really have ambitions. My only ambition really is to stay healthy mentally, not drink alcoholically, to think about others, and to be happy and make people laugh. And that's my ambition. And I think I've reached it already. My goal. Alright, I hope you like this video. Please comment if you want. And I'll see you all soon. Bye.